Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Rebuild for Change podcast. I am Aaron Lewis, joining us again today, and also in the studio we have Tahierah Ryklief, also joining us today. So let's get right to it. So Rebuild for Change focuses a lot on children, early childhood development, the youth. So Tahierah, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and kind of what inspired you to start Rebuild for Change?
My childhood started 1998. My earliest memory is, that of my mother saying that when I was a kid, I refused to receive help when I didn't want to be potty trained. I just wanted to be on the pot. But it's evident to like my personality growing older. I was very independent as a young child. I never had many friends at school.
Me too.
Even as a toddler, I would play on my own, be drawing on the table by myself. Never really wanted to engage with many people. I was very shy too, and like terrifyingly shy of everyone, everything. The only other person I wanted to be around was my mother. Even my dad, like holding me, I did not want to be around.
I was the exact same way.
and when you're a kid like that, you feel like you're the only one. And a lot of the teachers back then were like, "Oh, she needs to like engage with the other kids," and she's like on her own doing her own thing, and. But I was just very scared and shy, and but I also liked being very involved at the same time. I like doing a lot of things. I never liked just doing one thing at a time. My interests were varied from, I like to draw, but I also like to sing and dance, and then also just do everything. And then when I was in primary school, I participated in like everything there was. I did dance, orchestra. I'm saying dance because I spent a lot of time around you, but dance. I was in the orchestra. I was in the choir. I did art. I did every sport. I did cross country, netball, tennis. One time I actually played cricket. And that I did a lot of things as a child. I was always active, but the reason for that was because the school that I went to had everything that you could think of, which was a big privilege considering where I came from. I grew up in a small house. Like it was a one-bedroom house. It was split into 2 rooms. And I never really focused on that as a kid. It wasn't like something that bothered me. But looking back now as an adult, you're like, okay, that was really growing up in a very small house. It really does change a lot of when you speak to your friends, that when you go to a school that's in a ex-Model C school, so meaning like it used to be a whites-only school in apartheid. And you look at their home environment and you're like, as a kid, you kind of like, okay, there's a lot of things that's different about where I come from and where they come from, but we still go to the same school. And that sort of shaped my understanding of life from a young age. I never what I saw from my home environment, from the neighborhood that I came from. I lived in a little community just outside of Manenberg, in Cape Town. So. It wasn't directly in Manenberg, but it was also you were still exposed to the same things. And I remember not playing outside as a kid because I was terrified.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on Manenberg and why it's such a impoverished area? What makes it dangerous?
Manenberg is an area on the Cape Flats. Many people that find themselves there were actually placed there due to the Areas Act and also moving in people into a small area. Manenberg is known for its gangsterism, crime rates, poverty, mostly colored people, mixed race people that live there. So, and also the schools that are in the area, limited resources at the school. You have one teacher looking after teaching 30 to 40 kids in a classroom. No facilities really for any type of sport or anything like that. So my parents wanted me, my mother more than anything, wanted me to go to a school that had better opportunities and just a better exposure, because even the children that go to the school and the environment they are, surround, unfortunately, it's a sad reality that it's not the same.
Very true. The school you go to plays a big factor in how your life might turn out. It's not the deciding factor, but going to good school and also parents to support education like your mother.
Yeah.
That is such a game changer.
That is very true. Because if I went to, okay, we can't decide, I don't know how it would have turned out, but I do think it would have affected who I am today if I went to just, a school in the area. And it's sad that you have to say that. Like, I hate saying that at the same time, because you don't want to say something, because a community school should not be a bad thing. It should have opportunities, but it's not the reality for a lot of schools in Cape Town.
Yeah, it just doesn't exist there.
Yeah, I cannot speak the rest of South Africa, but I'm just speaking of what I know in Cape Town. And also, that's the reason why I went to school outside, and I was fortunate enough. My mother, I think what also may have influenced that was because my mother was also a teacher, and she worked in the education industry.
Mine was also.
Yeah, so they know the opportunities within education, and also the disadvantages of going to a school that doesn't have all the facilities, and how also doing sports and doing those extracurricular things do actually help a child develop holistically. So that was me in primary school, and my high school was the same thing. I went to high school in Constantia, so obviously a big difference. I mean, traveling from my area to my high school, you can visually see how it changes across where the houses people live in, the cars that you get there.
Very clear divide for anyone that's never been to South Africa. Very clear divide.
Yeah, so
literally a street can change everything.
Exactly. So that was my thing growing up, and also my siblings never they had their own learning disabilities. So for me, growing up, I was the kid that could go to like a school, go to high school, because both of my siblings went to special skills school. Where they don't actually get to get a matric certificate. So it was a lot of pressure, not from my parents. I think I put it on myself. My parents were very. They never ever pushed me to do anything I didn't want to do, or like expect me to be. That, but I think I put that on myself from a young age, and I always thought, okay, everyone's looking at me as the first of everything, like if I have to make it out of here, I can't just, so I had a very determined mindset at a young age. I was like, I don't want this to be my reality, looking outside of my house, looking on the streets, driving along the road. I didn't want that to be my reality as an adult. I didn't want to I didn't want to be in the community that I was grew up in, and I don't want to be a product of that community. And it sounds
really
terrible.
Breaking the cycle.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, but I knew that the only way to get out of poverty was to not have a poverty mindset.
Very true.
Because I thought of this thing the other day, and I was like, you know what? Sometimes poverty is inherited. Whether it doesn't have to be poverty as in money poverty, but it's also like poverty in terms of like your opportunities in life. I didn't want that as a child, and that's quite a big thing as an adult now. Thinking that's what you thought of as a child. It's I had to grow up very fast, and a lot of times I think that I wish I was more of a child back then. I wish I didn't have to grow up that quickly, but if you want to escape that and you want to actually be different, you don't want to be a product of the society you come from. If it's a bad situation,
you have to grow up very fast.
Yeah, you have to.
And you have to face
up.
the reality at a very young age, when other children have the luxury of not
thinking about those things.
Or maybe they just never face it.
Exactly. Like for me, I did road running as a kid, and I was really good at it. I remember winning I came third in the competition, and they are prizes that you get. So usually it's like cash prizes, like very small cash prizes as a junior. And I remember getting the third place prize. It was 150 Rand. And my thought wasn't, I'm going to buy myself, I don't know, sweets or something a kid would like want to buy. My first thought was like giving it to my mother so that she could like buy bread or like, that sort of thing. So at a young age, that's what I was thinking. Was not sort of like what a kid would do. And in a lot of ways, I know a lot of people from young children from my area robbed from that sort of freedom of like, this is mine, I can be a kid and do, I can buy myself a toy, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, maybe I should give this up to help my home situation or that sort of thing. So I don't know, was that like for you? I know there's a lot of misconceptions about American and Americans.
So coming from America, at least the perspective that I've seen from foreigners, maybe people that have never been to America, they think once you make it to America that you've made it and everything's always fine, but that can't be farther from the truth. And one reason why me and you relate to each other so much is because where I'm from in the U.S., Kentucky, the counties even that I'm from are some of the poorest counties in the entire United States, and a lot of the similar circumstances that maybe colored people find themselves in, even like black people or any other racial group here in South Africa, lack of access to opportunity, maybe having a lack of access to education, maybe the educational quality might be lower. In my area, and I know here in Cape Town in South Africa, there's a huge drug problem also.
Yes.
There is a huge issue with people being addicted, parents being addicted, the kids basically having to raise themselves. And then also for me, growing up, since I lived in such a rural area, that there's like nothing. There's nothing. You have a limited opportunity for jobs. For example, if I would have stayed where I grew up at, I could work for the prison system. I could maybe be a prison officer, or I could be a teacher, which I did become a teacher in a roundabout way, but not in my home. Or you just work at some random job. All the coal jobs are gone. All the timber jobs are gone. All the tobacco jobs are gone. And a lot of people that even I went to school with, they're going to have that same hopelessness. They're either going to be on some government grant, or they're going to be working maybe at McDonald's, and they feel like maybe that's the only thing that they can do is just do something like that.
And that's wild, because I honestly never really thought about that until I met you. Like, I never thought that white people in America would be struggling, or the idea of like seeing that, it was really a new perspective on the world that opened when meeting somebody from another place in the world that's also from an area that people don't actually think about, that struggle. I mean, I don't know, how was it for you not being able to fall into the...
Well, for me is, like you mentioned, growing up, I had a lot of the same personality. I was a lot more quiet. I'd rather spend time around my mom or reading books. And I think me being just naturally curious kind of led me to where I am today. It wanted to make me travel. It wanted to make me try to achieve things. And I just didn't want to be that little old hillbilly from West Liberty, Kentucky.
Hillbillies do have a big... It's like stereotypes, especially in the movies and stuff.
That's very true. And I think, especially in South Africa, and maybe someday I would love to maybe do something in my own area in the U.S. because it can be served. But I think the biggest thing that Rebuild for Change and other NGOs in South Africa can do is just bridging the gap. Going back to what you said about the schools, is you went to a very good high school, one that gave you those opportunities because your mom was, offering, trying to get you in a good school. So bridging the gap is so important. Rebuild for Change, giving these kids that have an impoverished background the chances for athletic opportunities, everything from helping the teachers, starting with ECD, is making a better ECD teacher, the principals being able to run their business a little better. Is some of these schools, unfortunately, especially in like the Cape Flats area, are going to be very underserviced, understaffed, staff that's not properly trained, and we seek to bridge that gap. And
a lot of actually, because in these communities there are sports clubs. I belong to a community sports clubs, Mitchell's Plain Titans. When I was, I think I joined when I was 10 years old, and I up till the age of, I can't remember, 16, 17, I think. And they are community sports clubs, but it's like actually the number of kids that participate in them, either they don't know, or the parents, they don't have the support to actually go there. Or, I mean, I was privileged enough to have my mother take me there and wait for me and take me back. And other kids that lived close by to the training grounds could go there. Like, I think it's a lot of support, family support, but I think if you don't get it at your school either, then your chances of it are about nothing. And that's what led me into, like, high school. I spent a lot of time involved in so many things that it kind of acted like a big distraction towards, I wanted to stay at school after school doing other things. I preferred that than from like going home. And then the weekends, I'd like involve myself in doing a lot of cultural things, like signing up to do, I did singing for a very long time. And I would go weekends, like look for these free singing competitions at malls and stuff, and I'd go do that, which is wild because I remember I told you I was a very shy kid. My mother motivated me to like just stand out there and just do it, like just do the talents, like use my talents for something. And it's wild. I was very scared to sing on stage. And I think the most people that I sang in front of at one point was like over 1,000 people.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know. Looking back now, it's like I can't believe I did that. And those things build character. It also makes you stronger when it comes to when you face adversity in life. Because that was for me, because I faced a lot of adversities that if I were to speak about it would be for hours. But doing those things on like pushing myself, being outside my comfort zone and working on things that are good in life, that really did help me build a better character. Even in high school, I thought of myself, I wanted to be a leader, even though I was a shy person. I wasn't exactly going to be like the clown of the class or like, those confident people that just like attract people naturally. That wasn't me, but I wanted to make a difference wherever I went. And I didn't want to be in the limelight, but I wanted to be a part of something like that. And I remember standing for leadership at my high school. You could like be on the RCL, which is like the Student Representative Council. And then I applied every year. You'd have to like give a speech in front of all the grade, and the grade would like, all the kids in the grade would like vote on who they wanted to be on the council. And I stood every year from grade 8 till grade 12. Every single year I stood making a speech, asking them to vote for me. And I never got in, not one of those times. And a lot of times people would, sign up for those things and not get it the first time, and then the next year comes, they probably wouldn't do it because they'll be like, it's just a popularity contest, or like nobody's gonna vote for me, they didn't do it that year.
You have to accept that you might fail.
Yeah, like I failed bad each time, and I think I understood, maybe this was during doing sports and stuff like that. It gave me the strength that even when I failed, that it was okay to fail because it meant that I tried. And that meant a lot to me. It helped build my character. So even though I didn't get on the leadership team, I was still going to try the next year because I thought that's what I can do it. Yeah.
There has been so much research shown that children involved in sports, athletics, even if they don't take their sporting goals very far, maybe they never become a professional, whatever, just being involved in sports in school helps out their education also, is like you said, the lessons you learn from being involved in sports. You can apply that to the classroom or just in life in general. Yeah. And sometimes children and youth, they just need something to focus on. And that doesn't even necessarily have to be sport. It could be an artistic outlet too. Yeah. Like for me, you had singing, I was into theater, and it was the same thing, as theater in a way kind of gave me my voice. Yeah. And then just being able to focus on something else, and that is your outlet. Like you don't have to worry about school. You don't have to worry about home life. You have your outlet, but because you can express yourself either in sports, arts, whatever it might be, then you can focus on other things, the things that matter, like education. Yeah. And I know at Rebuild for Change, that is another thing that we try to do. We try to get these children that don't have that opportunity to get involved
and just
with
get
arts
exposed.
Or sports and get exposed. And it's not about making them into the best athlete or the next big artist. It's such an amazing way just to find yourself and then to also balance yourself too. Yeah,
that's true, because I was so involved in my schooling life, and then I went to university. I mean, even going to university, thankfully, because of a bursary, I could, get my education for free. And that's something that I'd always be grateful for. But I remember the shift to university, I was not as involved in the sport and that sort of thing anymore. And it really did affect my mental health in that time for like 2 years or 3 years, because I was so focused on like university, like because I was the first person in my entire family to even get a matric certificate, and then I was the first person in my family to like go to university. That pressure was, it was a lot of pressure, I think, from society, because now, you know, not from your family. I think that's usually misconception. People think it's because of the family pressure, but it was more because society now, it's like, if you don't make this, if you don't like get your degree now,
then
like
you're a failure.
Yeah, your chances of, that was the biggest, that was the biggest challenge of my life was, I think, oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. But
okay.
My university time was,
let it all out.
it was very difficult because I remember thinking, like, was it something that I wanted to do? Because I studied sports science, and I was obviously very passionate about sports, but I was also accepted to do art as well. So it was very difficult because you kind of have the pressure of life, and I know I'm crying,
it's
but
okay.
but the mental health really took a big dip, and I don't think a lot of people speak about that. People coming from these communities, and even when they do make it to university, there's
so much pressure.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure to get there, because, you know, just the idea of having a degree really does change a lot of things, because of after failing one module in university like 3 times, I literally did one module 3 times. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. The 3rd time was the luck. But because of the degree, I could travel the world, and that was the biggest dream of mine, was to like see the world and do things like that. So from where I came from, I've like visited over 10 different countries in the world from where I started. And that for me is a testament that no matter where you come from, like, your belief and determination through life really gets you there. So I don't know, it's like for you, coming from a small town in your travels.
Which I was the second person in my family to have a college degree, which, you know, in America, usually we say college degree,
Yeah.
but I'll say university from now on. I was the second person in my family to have a university degree, 3rd if you're counting my aunt. But yeah, it was the same thing for my mom especially too, is she was the very first person to ever get a degree in her family. And if I remember correctly, I think even though my mom's sister is older, I think she actually got hers before my aunt did.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is a lot of pressure. My grandmother, she only made it to 8th grade. I think my grandfather on my father's side made it to 6th grade, which really none of my grandparents on both sides, none of them, they finished high school at all whatsoever. And my dad, he didn't get a university degree, but my mom was able to get one. She became a teacher, and that obviously influenced me. And I knew if I wanted to make something out of myself, I'm probably going to have that university degree.
Yeah.
It's not saying that people can't be successful without one, but it does open up so many doors. You said it opened up a lot of doors for you, and it also opened up a lot of doors for me. My opportunity to be able to travel abroad, work abroad, was because of that degree. And I would struggle a lot in school, especially when it came to math.
Yeah.
Now, if it was English or history, I did awesome. But math, I had to take a remedial math class in high school because my score was so low. But instead of being embarrassed about it or just accepting, I'll just never be good at math, I just studied a lot, I paid attention in class, and then I got my score back up. But you just can't have that defeatist mindset.
Yeah.
And if you let it sneak in, then you will be defeated. You just have to persevere.
Yeah, that's true. And after traveling for now, I think 3 years, like seeing different countries and seeing like what it's like in those places in the world, it gave me a new perspective of when I came back home. I came back looking at the place that I grew up in a lot different. And that's when I really wanted to continue with the mindset that I had when I was a kid, with a young child wanting to make a difference in the community. And it's always been a dream of mine as a kid, was to start something where other children in places that I came from have a space to go to or have a place to be. And I wanted to start a nonprofit as a child. people think I would be lying about that, but it's very true.
Well, that's not most children would dream
I know.
about being a ballerina or astronaut, but being a nonprofit founder. That's
Yes.
the first time I've ever heard about that.
I never had a job that I was like, okay, because I studied sports science, but that was only because I liked sport. That was the only reason why. I never really had it, but the nonprofit thing was the only thing that really was what I had a dream for. And when I came back, after like 3 years of teaching abroad, that's when I'm like, okay, now I think I want to start that. I have enough experience with life and just with knowledge. I spent some leadership time at university, being on the leadership team for my PSO, which is Private Student Organization, and that also helped me gain that confidence and like, okay, no, well, you actually have good leadership skills and you can use this to do a good thing. And coming up with the name Rebuild for Change, I wanted to, the name itself means like you already have something there. It's just rebuilding it back up and using that to make a change. Yeah, that's literally in why it's rebuilding and not just building something from scratch, because a lot of these places and communities already have something there. A lot of kids, the sports that I did, the other kids that are from my community also could participate. You could see their talent and their drive and those sort of things. And I wanted to be sort of an ambassador in a small way, whether it's one person, two person, like anybody really, to see my story as the story of their own too, and make their own difference in the world and that sort of thing. And that your area really doesn't dictate who you become, and that you can also give back to that area and that space. I mean, a lot of people can be like, okay, it'd be difficult to make changes in these places that have been affected by things that they were not their fault. But I believe that we really can see a difference in the communities we come from. And I'm very grateful for the person that I was as a kid, because without her, I don't think I would have been where I am today. And I'm still learning. I'm not perfect. I have my days, but
nobody is.
But I am definitely on a roll of like, you're really developing something with the group of people around me that support me and that share the same ideas and goal and mission to make a change in these communities.
Leadership, some people are born great leaders, but leadership truly is a skill.
Yeah,
and you can improve on it, be it public speaking or just getting your ideas across and learning leadership skills. And then, like you said, starting the nonprofit and then giving back to your community. And I think sometimes all these communities need that one person to look at. They can be like, oh, Tahierah made it. She came from the exact same situation I was in, and look what she made of herself.
Yeah.
And because somebody like you were able to do that, now they have that belief in themselves when they didn't before. So now they have a role model.
Yeah. I mean, I never wanted, I don't, if I can be a role model, that's a good thing, but I'm still deep down, still the shy person that I am. I just know how to turn it on and be that person when somebody else's voice may not be as, their voice might be a little soft. I can be that voice for those people. And my goal in life is to continue growing that and hopefully impact a lot more of the places and communities. I mean, and even not even only in the underprivileged communities, but also any person at large, because I think we all go through struggles in life and similar things, and you don't actually know, you think you're alone until you speak to other people, and meeting other people in South Africa and around the world really helped me realize that the world is a lot smaller than what you really think it is, and that we all can make a little change somewhere and do good in the world.
And inspiration, too, is really a chain effect also, that you might inspire somebody, and then that person inspires somebody else.
Yeah.
So even though you might not be inspiring somebody directly, maybe your organization, Rebuild for Change, inspires many people on down the line.
And also that you can do anything. I believe, if I could take back anything, do I think that you need the university degree? It can be beneficial, but
True.
Also if you believe that you have some skill,
required, but
if you have some skill,
helps.
like believing in that skill and taking it further from there, because right now the job that I do today is very far from the degree I studied. So I say for anybody that's out there, like, believe in your skills and believe in that you can develop it into something big, because in today's with everything that we have today, it's like anything is possible. And starting off from something small. Like, no dream is too big, and I want people to. I want people to dream big and to know that dreaming big is okay and that it can become a reality if you like work hard towards it and you don't give up, because I think that's the moral of like my whole life, and I'll carry that through to like my children and anybody that I say is just not giving up, because I could have given up at any point throughout my life and it would have changed everything for me. So not giving up really helped me become who I am today, and I'll continue to have that mindset of just not giving up.
Thank you so much for sharing that message, and I hope anyone watching, they'll at least be somewhat inspired or maybe very inspired by watching this. Once again, anybody that watched, we hope we inspired you today, and thank you again for joining. Remember to please like and subscribe if you'd like to follow along on our journey and see our impact. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching Rebuild for Change. If you'd like to learn more about our impact, go to www.rebuildforchange.org. Once again, thank you for joining us today. Let's work together and make a change.